Terence Marsh, there's one of each of your product ranges here. That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it's quite unique. Quite unique. I only realised this morning, actually, looking at the start list and realising we had the first car we built, the VK50, the VK56, and obviously the Revo T1 that you 100 brains in, and then the new T1 Plus. So yeah, looking back to where we started in 2012, in 10 years, all 4 cars on the starting line in one race.
And I mean, it's a racetrack, completely different pit setup, but it's kind of cool, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you say it's cool. It's a hell of a hot day, so on that basis, it's not. But
Terence, what I mean by cool?
yeah, no, look, it is different. I mean, the fact that we didn't have to set everything up, because obviously it's a big circus. I think logistically the guys are quite happy, and it is a different feel. But
It's dustless.
yeah, that it is. So there are some positives, but at the same time, as us rally raid guys, we love that camaraderie, that whole pit setup that we have. So we kind of lose that. We feel quite independent. But there's some positives.
So this is Chris's old car. You're busy developing, we love the sound of naturally aspirated V8s. But even with all the BOPs and all of that, it's a relic almost.
Yeah, I think it'll take time. We're building the first GTR for Chris now, so our GTR powered it'll be out towards the end of this month. I'm still obviously a normally aspirated. I love the sound of the V8, and whether the guys got the BOP will continue to be an argument. I don't necessarily think they might have got it right yet, but I still think for those a certain amount of the customer base, the V8 is still the easier car. It's easier car to drive, number one, and by far a lot easier to maintain. So I think when you get the top end, when you're talking about the professionals and the semi-professionals, definitely turbo country. But when you start looking at, let's say, some of the semi-professionals and the amateurs, they got to really start thinking about how difficult it is to run this car.
A good setup. I mean that one, the T1. That is a perfect amateur, gentleman drivers, privateer team car.
Yeah, I think it's important what people need to do. It's not so much about money and what you can afford, but where you want to fit in. And I always ask a guy, do you want to be a competitor or do you want to be a participant? If you want to be a participant, then get a T1 Plus and go play in the big boys, and you with the factories and measure yourself against the best in the world, because that's what we have in South Africa. But if you want to be an amateur, or what I call a businessman driver or a gentleman driver, and you want to run at a more cost-effective base, let's say, and not have to have so many engineers and people on your car, and you want to be competitive, then I honestly believe T1 is the class. That really is the class, and it's healthy, it's competitive, and you can see it.
But there certainly is a place for a turbo T1 Plus, and that's kind of a large. Or you look at a global market, it's big, and you've got to build what the customers want.
Yeah, that's the phase that we're in now. And I think there's education process that'll need to happen. So for now, it's turbo, and we'll follow it, and we've built it, and we've done that. I think the first 15 on the order book, 5 are turbos and 10 are V8s, so I can see some. But bearing in mind, we're very much with the business and driver and the semi-professional, let's say, so the sector of the market that we're in. But I think as the market gets more educated, you'll start realizing, one, it's a more complicated car to drive, the turbo, and obviously to run, But again, as things evolve, those things will become easier. So there'll be evolution in both ways. But I think that the market still needs to settle for.
You mentioned some numbers, 15 cars under build and on order. That's quite a logistical challenge that you've got. I mean, it's a huge operation. And how do you bring new people in and keep the skills going inside your factory?
Oh, that's the single biggest challenge, is the selling. In the beginning, when we set the business up, the challenge was selling it, And, it's difficult to sell if you don't have a product, so you first have to create the product. You've got the product and the sales are very good, but the challenge remains the skills, and it will continue to be. So we're very limited to the skills at this level, let's say within the South African environment. That's the one challenge. And the other is the supply chain. You can only build what you can get. And
when you land on Raga and said, if you've got to fit in a queue.
There's more than 600 components that make up the car. You need a couple of people in the supply chain to be falling over or not meet their deadlines, and the whole project is delayed. So there's a lot of challenges at this level, and obviously we've chosen not to be factory assisted, so we can be independent and run. So there are positives in that, but the negatives are you don't always have the influence or the drive that the bigger ones would have. So supply chain and skills will continue in the future be our challenge.
Going back to skills, is there a place for, I know it sounds weird, but almost like a racing car mechanician technician school, because the track guys have got the same thing. Other rally raid teams have got the same. The rally people, there's a deadly shortage of proper high-skilled mechanicians.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we've been doing this for 20 years now, and if I look now, all my top technicians that we've had that have been with us for 10 years, not one of them were a technician when they started. So all the good guys that we got, which we refer to as our Dakar technicians, were all groomed. They were all educated. The guys came from, houseboys to horse grooms and that's the process that we've had to do, because that individual himself doesn't exist. And for the older ones that do, with not trying to be disrespectful or kind of set in their ways, and don't evolve as much.
Untrainable.
Yeah. So I try and be not disrespectful, as I say. Sometimes the best we find is the ones that we've taught from the start and groomed, because you're building a car at this level, at this magnitude. I mean, at this value. The margin area is really, really small. So the quality of individual you've gotten has to be really, really good. So yeah, to answer your question, there's a massive divide between the skills, but there really isn't a platform to bring on those skills, and there should be.
It gets me thinking. Terence Marsh, thank you very much for sharing on Team Managers Friday. I love what you do. Good luck with racing tomorrow. I can't wait to see that GDR one.
Yeah, we've been working long and hard with the team in the back to get the GDR, and we're very excited about it, but at the same time apprehensive, because again, we know mechanically, we know the base of the car will be very good, but now obviously the turbo, the heating, the cooling, all the stuff that the guys have gone through, we need to go through, but at the same time it's exciting, it's the stuff we like.
That's why it's difficult, and that's why all the top teams only get to do it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terence. Cheers.